Bluff City Media presents the Two Buck Sports Show with your hosts, Rusty Buckets and Uncle Buck. Now, let's get to the show.
Still muted. Professional show here. What is up, everybody? Rusty Buckets of the Two Buck Sports Show coming to you live on this Wednesday at 11 o'clock as technology fails me. I've got windows open. I'm trying some new stuff today, so if I'm a bit laggy, it is what it is. Welcome to the show. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us today. I got my guy, Drew Gann, as always, checking in. Uncle Buck, how's it going today, bud?
What up? It is another day, another dollar here in North Mississippi. It is hot, and I feel like I have to apologize. I dropped a bombshell on everybody on Monday about the expectations of a new child in the Gann house. I got text messages yesterday. It was like, so I guess you're just testing our friendship, right? Just to see who's listening to the show. Because I didn't tell a soul and dropped it on the show. And so everybody's like, I guess you're just trying to see who's listening to the podcast, aren't you? And I was like, yep. Yep.
Basically. So
hey,
you're welcome. Yeah, exactly. So you're welcome for those of you listening. But we got a jam-packed show today as always. But today we're super excited. We got a special guest with us today. One Avery Braxton of ABC 24. He was kind enough to let me come blabber on his show a couple of weeks ago talking about Grizzly injuries. And so we're returning the favor. I'm super excited to hear what he thinks about the Grizzlies summer so far. And Drew, he had a sit-down interview with Cedric Coward. So we're excited to talk about that. But let's dive right in, not waste any more time.
Are you going to leave him in timeout, Rusty? Jeez.
My computer is killing it today. It is awful.
Good
Lord
Lord.
have mercy.
I'll put you there.
This
Welcome,
is what happens
Avery.
when we try to have a professional show.
What's
Again,
up,
we got
guys?
Avery Braxton here today. Thanks for joining us today, man. I appreciate you joining. Even if we're not professional, we're laggy and we're slowed down, man.
Don't even feel bad about it, bro. I'm looking around and I'm looking up at the bars on the top and bottom. I'm like, this looks pretty nice. Don't even feel bad. Listen, I was trying to have Jessica Benson on my show on Monday, right? And we could not get her IFB call-in system right. We had to scrap it. So sometimes stuff happens. You know what I'm saying? I will not hold it against y'all because even with the backing and the resources that y'all think I got with the local news, we still have crap that happens. So don't even feel bad.
I mean, we're running on like the beta version of StreamYard here. Apparently I've got Windows 98 on this Mac, which is about 10 years old. And so, you know what? We're doing it live here. So tell the good people what you got. So talk about your show. I was on it a couple of weeks ago, live at noon on the 24th floor. Tell folks about your show, kind of your role at ABC 24 and who you are.
I am the sports anchor for ABC 24. We obviously are a local news station, so you will see me, live in the 6 o'clock doing sports on ABC 24. But we also do a podcast, sports show, very similar to what you guys got going on, called The 24th Floor. Do it on Mondays and Thursdays at noon. And that show is, a lot of the reporting that we will do during the week, but also just opining, giving opinion and commentating on things that are going on. And so we've been doing that since about October. And it's been cool. I mean, we've had, like you mentioned, I had Cedric Coward on my show not too long ago. We just talked to Ryan Mitchell, who was drafted,
nice.
The Memphis native, who was drafted at the St. Louis Cardinals last week. And as a special something I got cooking up for tomorrow, I got Quincy Wilson, the Olympian, who just came to Memphis a couple weeks ago. So he's going to be on tomorrow. So some cool stuff. Fun show, a little different. I feel like I'm flexing all the muscles these days.
Yeah. Well, hey, let's just start at the beginning then, because I would like to hear about the newest St. Louis Cardinals draftee as well, because I'm excited about that. I
bet you are.
But let's start with Cedric Coward. First impressions I think everybody had of him was just like amazing, like just the person that Cedric Coward is. Did you get that same vibe? What was your vibe after the interview was over?
You talk to a lot of these athletes who are fresh out of high school, fresh out of college, and you immediately get the sense of like who has had some media training and who has not, and maybe whose parents are a little bit more involved and who are not. And I will say with Cedric Coward, like people were saying that you get the sense that you're talking to like a CEO. Like is a guy who is very put together, very much knows who he is, very much understands sides of the game that I feel like it takes other folks maybe 2-3 years to kind of figure out. And I don't just mean that from like a dealing with media perspective, but I think from a like dealing with humans that are not, necessarily in your immediate peer circle or anything like that. He just seemed like a guy who knew who he was and very much understands what he is walking into as a professional. And that's, I think, for any organization, athletes or, athletic organizations notwithstanding, I think you want somebody to come into your organization, kind of understand what you're about, and present themselves in a very professional and put together manner. And that's what I got from him, notwithstanding the basketball side of things.
Yeah,
that's bad news for us because professional and put together is
Memphis, right? That's not the Memphis vibe, right?
That's not. Yeah, that's not the
Let me tell you this, just on one of the comments that you made, and I kind of thought this as well, is a lot of times you could tell who has a good camp around them. And it feels like Cedric's got a good camp around them because you look at the introductory press conference that he sat through, he hit all the talking points. He said blue collar. He said hard worker. He said Tony Allen. He said defense. Like you could tell somebody sat him down and was like, all right, this is your talking points. This is endears you to the city. This is a small market team. It's important that you get endeared with the fans. And you compare that to Ace Bailey, who obviously has bad people in his ears. So I thought that was my first thing from your interview, from the introductory press conference, and just from the things leading up to the draft. Just seems like he's surrounded himself with good people.
Yeah, no, I would completely agree with that. He talked a lot about his family being around him, specifically his mother and father. He talked about, wanting to buy his grandparents' house out there in, I believe it's in Washington or excuse me, in Fresno, California. And so you can tell that he does have a camp around him that is very much invested in his success as a person, not necessarily as a basketball player, but those things kind of go hand in hand, right? And then even, I think that it also extends to like the coaching staffs that he's had around him at, Willamette and Eastern Washington, and then, Wazoo. And I think the organization that you're walking into with the Grizzlies is one where they are very supportive of you. I walk around with those communications folks all the time as I'm doing my reporting and doing my job, and they are the most helpful, respectful people that you're going to meet, and they want to see you win. So I think from all sides, he is very well taken care of in terms of his camp.
Well, and that makes 2 for 2 for us, right? Because something about these Washington State guys coming to the league, being mature, being kind of ahead of the game, we're going back to back with that because we saw Jalen Wells last year come in with a good head on his shoulders, obviously a good camp around him as well. It must just be something that comes out of those Wazoo Cougars. But you did interview Gigi as well. You've talked with Gigi. You've been around Gigi. He's a guy that has kind of been a slower development, right? Like he came in with all the expectations in the world and he was crushing it in his rookie year, and then had kind of a rough campaign last year. Talk about Gigi's maturation over this year, what we've seen in Summer League, and him talking and kind of what he needs to do to continue on that track.
I think sometimes you can't minimize what it means to maybe have a little bit of a change of scenery, right? And I think for Gigi, the change of scenery is not the city or the team, it is the coaching staff. Coming into that second year, I think he might have had a little bit of an inflated sense of himself, right? Because the rookie year that he was walking into a situation where he was, the primary ball handler doing all this scoring because they were decimated by injuries. And so when you come into that second year, you're expecting things to maybe go a little bit of a different way. You don't necessarily expect yourself to be, the go-to scorer because you have a Ja, a Jaren that are back in the mix. Desmond Bane comes back. You have veterans above you. But I think Gigi's expectations and what the reality of the situation was maybe just didn't match up as well. And I think we saw that he had some very real steps forward that he had to take with different parts of his game, especially defensively. And so it got to a point where the Grizzlies were trying to win games. I mean, it is a business. At the end of the day, they are in the business of winning. And I don't think Gigi was contributing to winning in such a way that Taylor Jenkins felt like he could rely on him at the stage that he was at. And that was probably an especially hard pill to swallow when you see a Jalen Wells, who's a rookie, right? Even though Jalen is older than him, but a rookie who steps into the starting lineup in the first 5 games. Like, I don't know how tough that would be for me, right? If somebody came into my job and all of a sudden, they're the big shiny new toy. And so, I mean, shout out to my colleague Drew Hill with the Daily Memphian. I believe it was him who wrote about just the maturation process that Gigi realized he had to go into, right? To go into this 3rd year. He wanted to go be in summer league in a 3rd year, which is pretty unusual. You just don't really see 3rd year guys do it, even though, again, Gigi's the youngest guy on the summer league roster, right? So it's very weird paradox of things. But I mean, when I sat down with him the summer after his rookie year, he just talked about, you're not at this stage because you can't play the game. You get to this stage and you stick at this stage because you figure out what keeps you there. And I think what we've seen in summer league is he understands that defensively he's going to have to get better. And I still think, there were steps forward, but he still has a pretty good way to go defensively. But you're seeing him attack and be an offensive player in a different way than I think we've seen him the last couple of years try to be. Very much more aware of, being able to pass the ball, making quicker decisions, not being a black hole, so to speak, on the offense.
I think the biggest thing we saw this summer was he got back to being like a 2-dribble creator, right? Within 2 dribbles, he either passed or took a shot, and that's where Gigi's lane is. I think he was forced into a role last year that doesn't fit his skill set, being more of a facilitator and trying to do more. But if we can get him in that Desmond Bane type role where it's a handoff and you take 2 dribbles and you get a layup, or it's a kick out 3, then I think that's Gigi's sweet spot on this team, especially on that second lineup. And now you got Ty Jerome, you got some other guys around him that can carry some of that load. I think it looks like it already has and will continue to take some of the pressure off of the mental side of Gigi's game.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think Tomas Isolo is going to be a breath of fresh air, I think, a little bit for Gigi. And I think he just I think he needed his expectations reset just a little bit.
Sure.
Yeah. I think that's, being a professional is a learned trait. A lot of times, you look at guys like Cedric Coward and Jalen Wells, and you see that their production and their willingness to fit into a role without having much ego. And then you think about the age they were when they're drafted, and you compare that to Gigi Jackson, and you could tell the difference in the folks that were 5-star, 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 one and done in college, and then something doesn't go their way, how you respond to it, versus a guy like Jalen Wells who, played his way through college, Sacramento State to Washington State to just, because of injury being thrown into a starting job and not letting that moment be too big for you. You're not overanalyzing. It's a learned behavior, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I think that what we could be looking back in a couple of years and think that this 24-25 season that Gigi Jackson struggled in could have been a blessing in disguise and a learning point and a real inflection point in his career. And I really hope that that's the case. But to think about Jalen Wells and Jalen Wells and Vince Williams Jr. and all these guys, that seems like the Grizzlies have a type when they draft. And they went again in the second round with 2 older dudes, with Jamal Meshack and Devon Small, and 2 seasoned guards who do in Meshack has 1 elite trait as a defender, and then Javon Small, who does a lot of stuff really good, high energy guy. What's your first opinion on those? I think everybody just is in love with Meshack, but do you see them being anything more than 2 ways, or is it still just like maybe a year or so away from being real contributors to this team?
I think I do see a pathway, I think maybe more for Meshack than Small to be a real contributor in the future, just because he very much has those prototypical skills, right? But I think what we know about the Grizzlies is that they do not treat their 2-way players and really even their G League Memphis Hustle players as like this is the gulag and you're going to stay here and stick here forever, right? I mean, we've seen it with Scottie Pippen Jr. He was on a two-way, got that full contract. We saw it with Vince Williams. He was on a two-way, got that full contract because when they prove that they can be real contributors, they are rewarded with that. And I think if you're in the Grizzlies organization as a guy who is trying to, earn his keep and survive in the league, I think the Grizzlies have to be one of those teams that you have to be excited to be in the organization for, because it does feel like if I perform at a high level, then I am going to be able to have a real chance to be on a main roster. And so, I think with Meshack in particular, because of his length and his defensive capability, I think he is the more likely, if he does get the two-way contract, to be on the main roster maybe a year from now or further into the season. Javon Small, I feel like, I really don't understand what the Grizzlies' kind of infatuation with these smaller guards are when it comes to the G League and the two-way system, because it doesn't seem like they pan out very often. I mean, we've seen it with Jacob Gilliard, who was on the two-way, played with the upper roster for a little bit, especially that same year with Gigi Jackson. And then we saw at the same time with Yuki Kawamura, who proved to be a fan favorite for sure, and certainly can give you some exciting moments, but it just never felt like he was really going to have a shot at playing in the league. So I love watching him. I'm following his journey. He's with the Chicago Bulls now. He's going to wear number 8. I'm like, I love that for him, right?
Hey, real quick, I hate to interrupt because we're on such a roll with this, but I do have some.
Man, I'm just here.
I've got some breaking news. Your colleague, as you mentioned earlier, Drew Hill, tweeted out about 10 minutes ago that the Grizzlies are hiring Darnell Lazar as an assistant coach. He was a video production or video coordinator for the Grizzlies from 2018 to 2019. He was assistant with the Pelicans last season, and he worked specifically with the big men. So he was a post coach working with Yeez Misi and helping with his development, which turned out pretty good. I mean, Misi had a pretty strong year and was in the running for the Rookie of the Year candidate last year. So, Lazar was on this team kind of in that transition time, right? Coming out of Grit and Grind into Grizz Next Gen. So it's interesting that we go back to that, but the track record with Misi is great. And if he can bring that to Memphis and help develop, I almost said Zebo, Zach Edey, and help, almost said Zach Randolph, Zach Edey's development, if he can help with the development of Jock Landale and some of these other guys that we've got coming in, PJ Hall, I think this could be a good hire for the Grizzlies. Avery, are you familiar? Or you remember Lazar when he was on this team?
I'm not too familiar with him. I got here in Memphis in 2021, so I'm not super familiar. Obviously, I am familiar with the Grit and Grind Grizzlies, right? And if you move to this city, you better get familiar with them real fast, right? So I am mildly familiar, but I think the point that you made is perfect. Is a perfect one because. On the front court side of things, the big man side of things, this is a team that is very young, right? With the exception of Jaren Jackson Jr., of course. And so the sooner they can get a Zach Edey up to speed, a PJ Hall up to speed, a Jock Landale up to speed, and even, Santi Aldama to a certain extent, even though he's more of a finesse wing-ish kind of big. The sooner you get all those guys up to speed, the better this team is going to be. And I know the Grizzlies don't want to be in they don't want to be in the gulag again. I use that word, or in limbo. They don't want to be in limbo for super long. So the sooner you get those young bigs up to speed, the better.
Yeah, exactly. He played it. Looks like he played at Duke in college. He's got some playing background. Like, I think it could be a good hire again if he can help. Like, if he pulls Misi out of the mire and the muck, and he can pull Edey out, I think that's going to be great. But you were talking about Yuki being a fan favorite. Yuki was awesome, but he wasn't more than a mascot, right? Last year, Drew and I were at the opening night.
That's a little harsh.
I got a point. I'm coming around.
Hold it down for us 5'8" guys. Come on, man.
Hey, I wish I was 5'8", Avery. I wish. I'd do anything for 5'8".
Listen, I love Yuki. Like the night at Orlando for the home opener, Drew, we were there, and when Yuki came in, we went just as nuts as anybody. But it's going to be nice to have guys on those two-way deals in Meshack, in Small, and PJ Hall, who could be high-level contributors, because like Meshack has a role on this team, being the guy that can get a stop. Javon Small plays awful similar to Ja Morant. There was a couple times in Summer League where he did a couple like jab step hezzies and some D-cells that looked just like 12 out there on the court. And then PJ Hall is a bruising type center. He's 6'10", wish he was a little taller, but he's an aggressive rebounder. And so it's going to be nice to get some guys on this team that can contribute from those two-way spots, and not the Zion Pullins or the Colin Castletons or the Yuki Kawamuras of the world that can actually help us win basketball games.
Yeah, I think that's the idea too. I think if you're a Javon Small in particular, you're looking at Scottie Pippen Jr. and you're like, I need to embody that. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily the play style, because every player is themselves, right? You don't want them to, I'm trying to be Scottie Pippen Jr., but you got to look at the way you got to look at his work ethic and what he was able to do. You got to look at his ability to fit into the system and whatever is being asked of him. Because what we know about 12, I mean, as much as I love 12, he does have injury concerns. There have been times where he's been not on the floor for extended periods of time. And so that two-way point guard spot is one that is valuable, because more likely than not, you are going to get pulled up for several games. So I think Javon Small in particular, of the three of them, is going to have a pretty unique role. I think PJ Hall probably sees the floor the fastest, just out of necessity.
Sure.
I like all three.
Yeah.
We still don't have the third one filled, by the way. I mean, we're assuming it's Jemai Meshack.
We're assuming it's going to be Meshack.
That is not set in stone yet.
Yeah, it's starting to get a little weird around that, to be honest with you. I thought that was a pretty much done deal, locked in stone when you release Zion Pulling, because the truth of the matter is that the Grizzlies and Zach Kleiman and the hustle and all the development and scouting guys do an incredible job of assigning these two-way guys to contracts that work out. You know, they see these as an extension of the team, as a 16th, 17th, and 18th roster spot, and Zion Pulling became a casualty to a positional need, because whether we liked it or not, like Zach Edey is our big guy and he's down, and Jaren Jackson Jr. is down, and Brandon Clark is coming off injury. You had to have somebody that could be that. And the emergence of Jemai Meshack, we assume, also contributed to Zion Pulling being released off of his two-way deal, but that hasn't been done yet. So is it starting to get a little weird? Is this still just like CBA weirdness that you've got to fit it in like after a certain date thing, or is it just going to happen like we think it's going to happen?
I think it's going to happen. I think they might. I don't know how much more proving of himself he can do, right? Because they're going to have to fill that third one sooner rather than later. And outside of them, maybe trying to find another big that can go along with the PJ Hall, I just don't know who else down there they would want to go with outside of, like I said, maybe in Armando Bacot, who played well, not to the level that PJ Hall was playing at, but played decent, played solid. And if you're looking at the big man roles right now, I could see them going that direction. But I think Jemai Meshack is – I think, in my opinion, you want Jemai Meshack around Jalen Wells, around Cedric Coward, around Gigi Jackson as much as possible. And I think the best way you do that is putting him on a two-way.
Well, and you also get him around KCP, who's who's a vet leader, a 3-and-D, like knows my role type guy. And if we've got KCP now, and again, this is pie in the sky, visions of grandeur. I own that, but like you got KCP now, but then you got Jemai Meshack that just kind of follows in his footsteps. He's a shorter player, but he's got that long wingspan who's just a menace defensively. And so KCP could be the perfect kind of niche for Jemai Meshack to fall in, like develop a really good three-point shot and then defend the hell out of everybody that gets the basketball. And you have a home in the league and on this team. And so to me, KCP is going to be key for this team with his experience and his leadership. And I want Jemai Meshack around that, because he can pour into him and show him what it takes to be a 3-and-D type specialist in the NBA.
Well put. Yeah, I completely agree. Sorry, I didn't know Uncle Buck was going to jump in there. I'm just
good.
No. Hey, listen. Sometimes you just gotta let Rusty talk. We just
no notes.
You just gotta let it sit. Sometimes you gotta let it sit just a little bit.
All right, we did have Avery. I told you we may have a couple questions for you, so we'll end it with a couple questions. We got one from Edward. We got one from our friend down under. Wayno from Australia. We'll end with his, but Avery, ask Avery from Edward, who do you like at the starting three? we're assuming KCP, Jalen Wells, Cedric Coward. These are the guys you're going to choose from. Do you have a preference?
I think KCP probably starts the year, and I say that because I think Jalen Wells might be at the 2.
Yeah, I think so.
And so
I think that's where I'm landing too.
Yeah, I think if you're looking at your starting 5, it's probably going to be some combination of Ja, Wells, KCP, probably Brandon Clark, and because of necessity, I would see it being PJ Hall or, KCP, Santi Aldama at the 4, and you might be playing some kind of small ball, I think, and Brandon Clark's your 5. I know that's not ideal, but I agree with the point you were just making. I think KCP is going to bring a defensive understanding. He's going to bring a role that he knows exactly what it is and how to play it, a veteran presence to that starting lineup. And I think that allow Jalen Wells to move to maybe more of his more natural position, which was the 2. He was playing that 3 because, again, he stepped into it over what we thought was going to be a Vince Williams or a G.G. Jackson.
Right.
And he wasn't going to play the 2 over Desmond Bane. It just wasn't going to happen. So that's kind of where I see that going.
And listen, we're pro Brandon Clark. So if Brandon Clark gets minutes at the 5, that's okay. I mean, he's undersized, but if you look at
undersized, but he gets the job done.
Ain't that right, Avery? Ain't that right? Another one coming from Edward. You may have to tell me what this is about. Okay.
Shout out my boy. Shout out to my boy. Noobs do indeed run the world, sir. And I'll leave that as a if you know, you know. They don't know. So,
I mean, you don't know us anything. You don't know us anything. All right. Last question. This is from our friend down under. This is Wayno. And I kind of want to just kind of make this a little bit more broad than what he has. He says, are you a Hoops fan? And if so, where did it all start? I want to broaden this out. You said you got to Memphis in 2021. Where'd you come from before that? How'd you land here? What are you about?
Yeah, no, to answer Wayno's question, I am 100% a Hoops fan. Love basketball. I am from Atlanta, Metro Atlanta area, Fayette County, for those who are more familiar with the state of Georgia. And so that's where, a lot of that started. But Uncle Buck was like, would it be hard for you to root for the Grizzlies if they moved to Nashville? I was like, I root for the Grizzlies professionally because I work in Memphis, but I am an Atlanta Hawks fan. So, I am excited about what's going on in the A right now with KCP and Trey, what that combination is going to look like. And, the Thunder down under, Wayno, with Dyson Daniel being Australian. I am excited. The Great Barrier Thief, which I think is a fantastic.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's
a
solid.
Good one.
That's solid.
I bet you did not want to talk about. It was really hard for you to talk about that Memphis Atlanta game where Dyson Daniels ripped Dez for the game winning layup at the buzzer. Yeah. That was really hard for you to come in even keel that day at work.
It's easier to hide than you think, because when you get into the space that I'm in, where we're supposed to be very straight-laced, objective, that kind of thing, it's easier to kind of I gotta keep it under wraps. But they gave me a platform like you guys' show where it's all right, I can talk about it. So I make Atlanta references on my show all the time. I don't feel bad about it. That's what y'all hired me to do.
That's it.
There's a synergy between the two cities, I believe.
Yeah,
there's
a similarity.
Yeah, for sure,
100%. There's a soul, there's a music, there's a flavor to both cities, and that's why it's a fun rivalry with Atlanta, because we feel like we're both kind of in that same vein. And so, Avery, man, this has been an absolute blast. Thanks for hanging out with us, man. It's been a lot of fun. We appreciate you being here. Tell them again where they can find you, when your shows are. I've got your handle on here at Brax_Avery, but tell them where the show is and all about yourself.
Yeah, so we're live on YouTube Mondays and Thursdays at noon. You can also watch that at abc24.com/watch, which will take you basically to the station's website. You can watch it through there. We're also live. We have a Roku app, smart TV app. Just search for 24 Plus or ABC 24. It should come up. Mondays and Thursdays at noon, we're live. And of course, you can follow me on socials. All socials is at Brax_Avery. Appreciate you guys having me. It's been a lot of fun.
I'll say I watched Rusty's show, and if I place my hand over his body, the set looks really good. You got a really good presentation there.
It's so cool, man.
Hey, man, I spent a cool 2 days just going to antique stores and thrift stores, like looking for like Memphis sports related knick-knack, paddywhack, give a dog a bones. It was very fun. And I think the set turned out pretty well. So I appreciate you acknowledging my efforts.
It's a professional
I've just got a flag. So cool. I bought the Grizzlies. Okay, it covers up a white brick wall.
I should have did the show from the studio, but if we were doing the same time as midday, they would have started yelling at me.
Yeah, I hear you.
Thank you, Avery.
This is awesome, man. Thanks again for being here, buddy. And you're free to go back to the rest of your day. I got a quick commercial, and then we do have a little bit.
Good Lord, Rusty. This is embarrassing. I'm Avery Braxton, I guess.
I don't even know what's happening at this point. This is the StreamYard is kicking my tail today. It has been all week. If you go to x.com, buckets_BCM, you will see that I am in a fight with StreamYard. But thanks for hanging out with us again. Avery Braxton of ABC 24. Check out the show Mondays and Thursdays at 24th floor. Use the code BluffCity, ounceofhope.com. Scan that QR code. It'll take you right to Ounce of Hope. Ounce of Hope is where you get all your products that you need for the Chokin' and Token event coming up on August the 16th at 1 p.m. Hanging out at Midtown Krav Maga and Jiu-Jitsu. Come hang out with some of your favorite personalities who are going to be there. I think Edward in the comments that he's going to be rolling through as well. It's going to be a great event. It's going to be a lot of fun watching guys jiu-jitsu each other. Come hang out with us August 16th at 1 p.m.
Chokin' and Token, the Mid-South's first cannabis-themed jiu-jitsu tournament.
August 16th at Midtown Krav Maga and Jiu-Jitsu.
At 1 p.m. 21 plus to compete or consume.
Consumption not required.
Ounce of Hope is licensed by the state of Tennessee. This is all 100% legal hemp products. Everything's good to go.
We'll have gi divisions.
No gi divisions.
Madison bracket, guaranteeing 4 matches per division, plus an absolute winner.
Each fighter receives an Ounce of Hope gift bag, and there's prizes for every winner.
Check out the link below to sign up.
This is embarrassing to literally lay your life on the line, to forfeit all of that money, $200 million, plus not taking any shares of the TV revenue, to put all that on the line and face expulsion in 2030-31, which SMU didn't put in the ACC contract if they didn't like you, the Big 12. What's embarrassing about it is if this doesn't cut it, it just seems like nothing will.
I don't see it as embarrassing at all in the slightest. And I'll tell you why. Because Memphis basically just said, for all the narratives that are out there, they came out with this deal and smashed every narrative about the University of Memphis.
The money,
the investment, the willingness to invest into the program, into the athletic department. They have literally put every card on the table, and the Big 12 has said no. And it is not because the offer wasn't good enough. It's because for some reason the Big 12 says no. Okay, cool.
That's why
we move on.
Tune into On the Bluff with Christian Fowler and Gabe Kuhn every Tuesday at 12 p.m. on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel. In the heart of the Highland Strip for 27 years, Trilogy Tattoo has helped tell stories for Memphians for generations. Located at 530 South Highland, Richie and his team are waiting to help you tell yours.
From tattoos to piercings, your body art should be as unique as you are. Voted a Memphis Flyer top 3 tattoo shop in the city of Memphis since day one. Your story will be safe here at Trilogy Tattoo.
Open 7 days a week, Monday through Saturday, 11 to 11, and 3 to 11 on Sundays. They have convenient times waiting on you. Let Trilogy Tattoo help you tell your story.
Welcome back to the 2 Buck Sports Show. This time it's not my fault. Uncle Buck did get a call for coming back from break, but me and StreamYard are in a serious toxic relationship. Like, I've got it all set up. I've got this great new little bit that I was about to do that I'm nervous about doing now because I don't know if it's going to work. But again, big props. Shout out to Avery Braxton of ABC 24 News for being here, hanging out with us. Great guy, great conversation. A true hoops head. He and I talked about that a bit when I was on his studio. And listen, it's a way better product than what you're getting here with the 2 Bucks, that's for sure. But it's an awesome experience. Great guy, knows basketball, loves Memphis as a transplant like myself, has come to this city and really embraced it and enjoys being with us or being in Memphis and covering the Grizzlies for sure. Before we dive into our basketball talk, I do have an announcement to make. Next Wednesday, a week from today, we're going to be live on location with a new friend of the podcast. That's all I'm going to say. Give it a little bit of a teaser, but there's going to be some fun things coming out next Wednesday. Y'all be paying attention to social media. Make sure you're following Bluff City Media on Instagram and Twitter. Make sure you're following myself and Uncle Buck on Instagram and Twitter. You can find our show handle here at 2bucks_BCM. As we are rolling some of this out, it's going to be some cool stuff coming out. We've got some big college football content coming out. Wayno, Maggie, I know you're watching while you're working out. That's not necessarily speaking your language, but hang out with us. It's going to be a lot of fun covering college football this fall. And big things coming from Bluff City Media. That's the only teaser you're going to get. Hang tight. There's more coming. It's going to be great. I do want to address what Avery was talking about earlier. While we wait on Uncle Buck, before we get into building an NBA team, which will be a fun segment as long as StreamYard cooperates, I guess we'll see. But it came out this week in the Daily Memphian. Drew Hill retweeted it. I think it was Solomon. I'll get his name as I'm talking about it here in a minute. Tweeted out that the Memphis Grizzlies and the city of Memphis were unable to reach a deal. It was Sam Hardiman is his name, Hardiman. The Memphis Grizzlies and the city of Memphis were unable to reach a deal on an extension of them staying in the city. Now, what it looks like is they're talking about a 20 or 25-year term. It's not like the Grizzlies are up and leaving in 3 years when their current lease is up. They're literally just trying to decide if it's going to be between 20, 25, 27 years, what that lease term is going to be. But it's that time of the year, right? There's nothing else to talk about, nothing else going on. So fear-mongering sells, clickbait sells. Now, I'm not saying that's what Sam did, but a lot of social media took it and ran with it. I am here to say I read the article. Take a breather. We're in a big transition for downtown and for the FedEx Forum as they're rehabbing it. But there's a lot of things coming between the city of Memphis and the Memphis Grizzlies. So take a deep breath. The Grizzlies aren't going anywhere. Welcome back, Uncle Buck.
Yeah, I'm not going to pretend to understand the ins and outs of this. I understand, like, as fans, how we can read that and the headline be, they have not come to a deal on the extension of the lease, and because of the national narrative and everybody always wanting to move the Grizzlies out of Memphis anyways, it kind of gets our ears up. And I'm not saying it's not news, but I don't think it means worst case scenario either. You think, and I don't know how much the Memphis Grizzlies play into this, but I believe it was last year or 2 years ago, the state of Tennessee announced a massive spending project on all of the arenas. I think the Liberty Bowl was getting some money. The Titans are building a stadium. I don't know if they're doing anything with Neyland but a lot of this, it could be just lobbying and hardball too to try to get as much money. I don't know. All I'm saying is it doesn't just mean one thing, and that being the Grizzlies relocating.
Yeah,
I don't
just
see that being
lease terms. No, it's simply lease terms. Once they get that figured out, likely during basketball season or by next summer, then it'll be a non-issue once again. The Grizzlies are here to stay. Too much of a basketball town. I don't think we're going anywhere. All right, so we're going to give this a shot. I want to see if I can add this to the stage now. And I see it. Yeah, let's go. I think this is why my StreamYard's been a bit buggy today. At least that's what I'm going to say. But Drew and I are going to draft 2 starting fives based on who the wheel gives us as our teams. I'm gonna concede the floor and let Uncle Buck go first. So as I click start here, we're going to spin the wheel and it's going to spit out a team. We're going to pick a 1 through 5 from each one of these teams as it appears on here. Drew, your first team will come up and then we'll post them online and y'all tell us who you think would win in a 5-on-5 game. So Drew, who's up first from the Spurs?
All right, so we're picking a starting five. It's not our 5 best players, right?
Right.
It's
Starting 5.
All right, and this is historical. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that I know you're not a big fan, but I think you have to be the best player in San Antonio Spurs history, especially at that position. I think he's a top 5 center of all time, whether you love him or hate him. That's Tim Duncan, and I feel like that's pretty simple. I could go Wemby,
Agreed.
but just he is a top 75 player of all time. That
Agreed.
being Tim Duncan. So
Agreed. I don't like Tim Duncan, but that doesn't negate his talent. And so, are you going to put him at your 4 or your 5?
No, I will
play both.
I'll put him at my 5. I'll put him at
the
the
5. All right.
Back
Tim
to
Duncan.
the basket center. He's not shooting any threes. I'm gonna put him at my 5.
All right. So Drew has taken his center with the first overall pick. Tim Duncan again. I hate Tim Duncan, but you can't deny the talent as one of the best true post players of all time. Big fundamental. Oh, I thought I was getting the Wizards here. I was gonna be really upset if I got the Wizards. Really upset. So the Knicks are like that's a deep history. It's a historic franchise. There's like the John Starks of the world come to mind first. But if you're going center, I gotta counter power with power. And I'm going to go Patrick Ewing as my starting center. Patrick Ewing, a great center back in the 90s, held it down at the 5 for the Knicks throughout the 90s. I'm going to go Patrick Ewing. He's a movie star as well from Space Jam.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. You're going to choke in the playoffs. I'm not. So
we'll see what the rest of the team turns out to be. But Patrick Ewing is a strong start to my roster at the 5.
All right. All right, I've got the Miami Heat, and I feel like I'm going with these teams that may have rich histories and whatnot, but there's really one player that I want. Actually, how do I want to do here? I'm getting either a 2 or a 3. Arguably the best 2 guard of all time, or arguably the best player of all time.
That just kind of worked out well for you.
So I'll take Duncan Robinson. I'm just kidding. Listen, I'll play the game for the votes a little bit. I'll take LeBron James. I do believe he is at worst the second greatest basketball player to ever live. If you get the opportunity to take LeBron James, you take him. He's my 3.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue with the second greatest player of all time behind Michael Jordan. At the 3, I think that's a solid pick. Still going strong in year 41. And his Miami days were some of his better days, so that's strong. Ooh, I get the Spurs as well. So I've got a 5. Give me, man. This is tough because I would have went David Robinson had I got this one first. But by landing on the Spurs here, I'm going to have to go. Give me Wayno. Shout out Wayno. I'm going Tony Parker as my 1. I'm going to get a
Why are we shouting out Wayno? Tony Parker's French.
Oh, he's French. My bad.
Good
So I'm going
grief.
Tony Parker. I'm going Tony Parker. I saw the blue and red in the flag in my mind, and I went Australia. I'm going the Frenchman Tony Parker. And
it's not Pat Mills, mate.
That's his backup. That's what I was thinking of. Tony Parker at the 1. I like that as some good defense and a facilitator. Get the ball in Patrick Ewing's hand and clear out. Tony Parker is my point guard.
My team is demolishing your team so far.
So far.
All right. Yes.
Oh, my God.
Stephen
This could not have gone better.
Curry. Yes. Stephen Wardell Curry Jr. If that's his whole name.
Here.
Yeah, I told on the last show, I said he is on my Mount Rushmore. Changed the basketball game. Top 2 player to watch ever.
My Lord. I'm absolutely getting
It's
pumped
over.
here. I tried to be nice. Yeah.
As Vince Carter once said.
I tried to be nice. Ooh, I'll take this. I'm going Kevin Durant at the 3. Give me KD at the 3. I finally got a guy who can get
You got
buckets
one
and
person that can
score.
score.
I finally got a scoring player. My team, I'm trying to be nice and help, let Uncle Buck go first. And the wheel has not been kind to me, but it gives me prime KD.
Just
KD
wait till I get the Bulls right here.
Oh my God, that's probably what's going to happen. I mean, not a lot worse.
Okay.
You got a 4 and a point guard.
So I need a point guard. I need a no, I don't need I need either a 1 or a 2, and I need a 4. Okay. So let me just brainstorm a little bit. Houston Rockets point guards could go Kenny the Jet Smith, just because I love inside the NBA. But the problem is I like inside the NBA more than I like Kenny the Jet Smith. So I'll pass. On principle, I will not take James Harden.
No.
Just won't do it. How about I take Tracy McGrady?
Ooh.
Yeah, I'll do Tracy McGrady. This is a big guard, but I'll take Tracy McGrady. Steph Curry will be my point guard. Tracy McGrady will be my 2 guard. LeBron at the 3. Tim Duncan at the 4. Ooh, boy.
This one is over. I've got there's like 2 teams I've got to land on.
United States versus Australia Olympic match right here, Mano.
Yeah,
CP3,
this has got to be.
I can't do CP3, King Meeks. Can't do it.
Indiana Pacers.
Halliburton. That's all. Detlef Shrimp, Rusty.
No.
Detlef.
We're going Reggie Miller at the 2 guard again. Not a great playoff performance, but we're getting buckets. I need offense, Drew. I need offense. This team is ugly. I've got some defensive guys, but I need some offense. So I got Reggie Miller at the 2 and Katie at the 3. We both have power forwards left. We both need a 4. So hopefully
Don't think I won't put Michael Jordan at power forward. Okay. Yeesh. Okay. So do I get the player at their abilities when they played for this team? Or for instance, can I get like Carmelo Anthony, but he'd be as good as he was for the Knicks?
No, it's got to be how they were for that team. Let's go how they were for that team.
No, I don't think so. So. I'll try to think of somebody that was good for Atlanta.
Because you could also put LBJ
at
the 4. Like LeBron can play the 4 in a certain situations, and you can get a 3.
Yeah, but I've got an idea, and Atlanta does not have a rich history. I could go you could go Clyde there. But he's a guard, so I don't really want to go super small ball. So I'm going to go like the guy that does the dirty stuff. Okay. I actually went on a rant the other day about how I think he's still good at 39 years old. And arguably he was at his peak of powers and made all-star games when he played for the Atlanta Hawks. And I think that he's just a really solid basketball player that won't mind being the 5th best player on a team and will excel in his role. That's Al Horford.
That's a solid Hawk there. Well done. The wheel has not been kind to me. It's been so kind to
You're going to get Charlotte. You're going to be forced to take Frank Kaminsky here.
That's it. That's probably where I'm
Mecca Okafor. The Cleveland Cavaliers.
Well, you've already got LeBron. So I guess I could take Cleveland LeBron, but that's not the outlook here.
Kevin Love.
That's the first name that comes to mind is Kevin Love, because it's not Tristan Thompson. It's not, Larry Nance Sr.
I'm not going to feed you an answer.
No, that's what I'm trying to like roll through. I know Boozer played there. I know they've had.
They had a number 1 overall pick at one time. Went the pick above. They had a number 1 pick who is now more known for NASCAR, but he was picked number 1 over Lynn Bias. In that draft when Lynn Bias died, but you go Anthony Bennett. Jared says,
"Oh my God, no!" He's got pedigree. He's played a long time. He was a Memphis Grizzly for about 30 minutes. I'm gonna go Kevin Love. I just nothing else is jumping out to me. There's not another player that's like this has got to be him. So
I was trying to get you to take Brad Daugherty, but
I'm not taking Brad Daugherty. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So the wheel was not kind to me today. We will try this exercise. I did think Sean Kemp, but I did tell Drew that it's got to be them when they were with that team. Sean Kemp was older. It wasn't great. So I didn't pick Sean Kemp there.
Well, I mean, you're not even going to post this because you don't want to see the results, but I had Steph Curry, Kobe, Tim Duncan, Al Horford, and who's my point guard?
Tracy McGrady.
Tracy McGrady, T-Mac,
Yeah.
T-Swizzle.
I got the wheel beat me to sleep today. I got Tony Parker, Reggie Miller, Kevin Durant, Kevin Love, and Patrick Ewing. This is what I get for trying to do in that new segment. I get absolutely dominated by the wheel. Drew, we got a couple football topics to talk about before we get out of here. I'm not even going to hit the bumper video. We'll roll right into it because I know we're getting up to that 50-minute hour. But apparently this week, it has been the week to punk on the SEC, as we've seen two coaches that have crapped all over the SEC scheduling. One being Rhett Lashley, who, SMU, they are what they are. They made it to the Big Dance. They're a smaller school, and they got beat by Penn State. But Kirk Cignetti from Indiana, known trash talker, left JMU, got some great transfers in, got some great players in, and played pretty well with Indiana. They were good last year until they played a real team and got worked by Notre Dame. So you've got Kirk Cignetti coming out this week at the Big Ten Media Day saying, we figured we just adopted SEC schedule and focus on our conference games when they dropped UVA. Talking about how soft the SEC non-conference is, and said we need to standardize the schedule across the board if we want to have objective criteria for who should be in the playoffs and who shouldn't. And we need to take the decision-making off the committee to some degree, which I don't disagree with. But Drew, initial reaction to old Kirk's comments about the SEC schedule.
Well, my problem with Kirk's comments is that he made it to the playoff last year by playing in the Big Ten and not playing anybody good teams in the Big Ten. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe they played Ohio State, but they didn't play Michigan or Penn State.
Right.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're right. The only time they played was Ohio State, and they lost.
Yeah. All right. So here's my thing is I see the validity to it because especially when they're talking about expanding the playoff and changing the seeding, and you're taking it out of you're not in the future, you're not going to get a top 4 seed if you just win your conference. And so winning a conference championship is not important anymore. You've got to have 10 wins. I mean, that's just what it is. It is what it is. And so when you're Indiana, do you want to play non-conference Power 5 games? Probably not. Because it's a race to 10 wins. Now, if I am a player or a fan of Indiana, you think of it this way, are we scared of Virginia? Of all the teams to make your stand against, for instance, USC had a home and home schedule with Ole Miss. They canceled it. Mm-hmm. If you're USC, what does it gain you to go to Oxford and lose? Nothing. When the alternative is I could play UNLV. Mm-hmm. No, you've got to stack up wins however you can do them. And when you're in the bad division of the Big Ten, strength of schedule doesn't matter. You've got to stack up wins. And so I get it. I get it. But you're losing me when you make the SEC comment. And I'm not like an SEC purist. I'm not the guy that's going to be like SEC. That's not me. I hate all of them. I hate every team in the SEC. But what the SEC has over the Big Ten is a hard schedule. You're going to, if you look through just the metrics going into every season and then out of every season, you look at who has the toughest schedule or had the toughest schedule. It's always SEC teams because they beat up each other. To Rhett Lashman's comments about, the only 6 schools have won a national championship from the SEC. That's true. But, up until 10 years ago, that was half of the conference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and you just moved to the ACC. You're just now at the table. You might want to be calm. And it would be one thing, talking about Kirk's comments again, their non-conference games last year, they played FIU, Western Illinois, and Charlotte as their non-conference games. Their non-conference games this year are Old Dominion, Kennesaw State, and Indiana State. So it's not like they're really breaking the mold either for playing really good teams. When you have Alabama playing Florida State, Florida playing Miami, Texas playing Ohio State, LSU plays Clemson, A&M and Notre Dame, Auburn, Baylor, State plays Arizona State, Tennessee, Syracuse. There's some good games out there with some marquee matchups. The SEC is playing. Yes, they play 4 cupcake non-conference or 3, and then they get that
No.
4th one. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
You
3,
have
and then
to
the-
have one non-conference power matchup.
Yeah, Power 4 matchup, and that's what we got. So you can sit there and talk about that, but then you're going to schedule Kennesaw State, who is one of the most used teams to rebuild a school in NCAA football because they're so bad. Like, just don't win games. But the SEC is answering the bell and forcing their teams to play Power 4 teams. I agree. You've got to stack wins and come play in the SEC, what used to be the SEC West, for a season, and you'll be begging for a game against Mercer in November as Cupcake Week tunes you up for rivalry week because you've probably just played some combination of Florida, Georgia, LSU, Ole Miss, Alabama, Auburn. Like, you kind of run a gauntlet heading up to that. You need a break, and you don't get that in the Big Ten when you have to play Northwestern and Purdue and Maryland. Some of these teams just aren't good.
And think about it from a fan perspective. Like, you're trying to sell season tickets. You get how many? Look this up. How many home game? I mean, how many conference games does Big Ten schools play? Do they play 8 or 9? Because that makes a difference. Because when you're looking at buying season tickets, like, I'm sorry, but as an Ole Miss fan, you play 12 regular season games. Most of the time, you're going to have 7 home games. Okay.
They play 9 conference games. It popped up 20 at first. That's why I made the face, because I was like, that's not right. That's basketball. Okay. It's 9 conference games per season. So allow me now to finish my point, but then get back to Kirk Signetti. I think this validates him a little bit. Think about your fans. You don't want half of your home games being against nobodies. It is fun. It sells season tickets. And like I said, strength of schedule does matter for tie breaks if you're in the bottom half of, that 10 to 14 range of the playoffs, but do it for your fans. Like, what would you rather see as a fan, a home game against Virginia or a home game against IUPUI? Like, it's just not a thing. Now, if the SEC goes to 9 SEC games, a 9-game SEC slate, which has been talked about for years, at that point, if I'm an SEC coach, or now with a Big Ten coach, if I'm having to play 9 SEC games and we're in a race to 10, I am not scheduling a Big Ten team or an ACC team, especially not a Clemson or an Ohio State or a USC or a Washington. You know who I'll be scheduling? Indiana, Wake Forest, Virginia, the team you just knocked off your schedule. Like, So, I mean, 100%. Like, that's true, because in those 9 games, Drew, especially in the SEC, the Big Ten, in those 9 games, you're lucky if you've played 3 teams with a winning record, be in the top 25. If you play 9 SEC conference games, probably 6 or 7 of them are going to be in the top 25, if not 8. I mean, hell, Vandy is not the Vandy of old. Like, they're better. Like, they're a better team now. And so I get the point that he's making, because it's so emphasized on just stacking wins, and then like strength of schedule and strength of wins is way down the tiebreaker, metrics. But for fans of football, man, this is going to be an awesome slate of opening games when you've got really, really good early season matchups. Alabama and Florida State, LSU, Clemson. Like, we're going to get some like true smash mouth football in week 1, and Indiana's not going to be a part of it. So, it's bold talk for somebody that's sitting outside the arena and not putting their team on the line early to see what they're tested. And Drew, I'll say this, and that this is a great point by Jared, but like this is what happens. We saw it with Notre Dame when they went undefeated, and then they played Alabama in that title game, the Manti Te'o Cap this year, and got dominated. They were never tested. The hardest game they had was against Purdue, and they had to win by a field goal. Indiana never got tested until they played Ohio State. They got boat raced by Ohio State. They beat Purdue, and they got boat raced by Notre Dame. Like, if you don't test yourself, you're not going to be able to compete at the highest level against these teams who have tested themselves through gauntlet college schedules.
Yeah. And it just doesn't look good on your conference going forward when your conference sends, 4 teams to the playoffs, and they just don't stack up well. I know Ohio State won it. They are obviously number 1 in your conference. So
by a wide margin.
Yeah, it does not necessarily mean Indiana deserves a bump here. So I get it. I do get it, because it's a race of 10 wins. And you hope that you are playing in a good conference and you can hold your hat on something. But for the fan perspective, for the entertainment perspective, I hate the thought of just scheduling easy wins, scheduling bye games, because your fans want to watch it. And you've only got 13 Saturdays in between Labor Day and Thanksgiving to watch football. Let's not stack them full of games against Western Carolina and the Citadel.
Yeah, please give us something to watch. But Jared does have something to watch with Notre Dame and Memphis coming up.
For real.
But that's going to do it for the $2 Sports Show on your Wednesday edition. Again, big props to Avery Braxton for being here. No props to StreamYard and my computer today for putting me in a headlock. But thank y'all for being patient and putting up with all that. I'm frustrated, but it is what it is. We battled, Drew. We persevered, and we overcame and had a decent show. Big shout out again to Avery Braxton. Thank y'all for being here. We'll be back Friday at 11 a.m. Central live here on YouTube. In the meantime, go be a friend to somebody who needs a friend. And remember, there are no refunds for what you heard or saw here on the $2 Sports Show today.
That's right, because with the $2, you always get what you pay for, and that is not enough money to afford a producer. So see you guys on Friday.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of the $2 Sports Show. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe to Bluff City Media's YouTube page, like this video, and leave a comment. We will see you back here in a few days.